Welcome to Brockville, Ontario, in Canada's first railway tunnel, built in the 1850s. It ran in service up until the mid-1960s, so it had over a 100-year run. They opened it up here a few years ago as a walking path, 1,100 or 1,700 feet long, something like that. It's got a good length. Now they play music and everything inside, which will kill me on copyright strikes, so I'll have to dub something in here in the background. So this is the south portal of the tunnel. And in the this section of the tunnel, this section was built with what was called a cut and cover, or they simply just dug down to the level they needed, bricked it in, and covered it back up. Now you have to remember, in the 1850s when this was built, there was no modern excavation equipment, so this was done strictly by hand with picks and shovels. The tunnel has some really interesting lighting effects. And not far into the tunnel, we come across the ventilation shafts. There's two ventilation shafts that went to the top. At the time, they just went to the surface. However, nearing the turn of the century, when City Hall was built, the ventilation shafts went up inside the City Hall building and came out the top to look like a pair of chimneys. Now, the eastern ventilation shaft is still used with an electric fan today, just to help pull a little fresh air into the tunnel. Working our way north and getting a little deeper underground, you'll start to notice a lot of calcium and other mineral buildup on the side of the tunnel walls. That's of course from the groundwater that seeps in. As you can see, the floor in front of us is soaking wet, and it rains quite well on you actually walking through the tunnel. You can see the groundwater running right down the walls here, and all that calcium and other minerals that are brought in by it. Now this section of the tunnel we're approaching, this is where we get into the limestone and harder rock. So at this point, of course, now being 60 feet underground, the cut and cover method didn't work. So this section of the tunnel was blasted out. Something else to remember, in the mid-1800s, this is before dynamite was invented. So long holes were bored in with hammer and chisel and filled full of black powder, or gunpowder, ignited, and that was the explosive charge they used to blast the rock out of the way. And with all that rock, you have to get rid of it. So midpoint down the tunnel, there is the extraction shaft that was dug down. That allowed rock to be hoisted up to the surface and moved away. You can see the arched metal cap up there that covers it, because above it is a parking lot nowadays. It's also a noticeable temperature drop once you enter this section of the tunnel, because of course, being nearly 60 feet underground, the rock really helps to keep the air cool. However, it is very humid. There's remnants of one of those boreholes they used for blasting the rock out. And as we get closer to the north end of the tunnel, the rock wall disappears and is now covered with a stone lining. This section of the tunnel, they were digging south through the soft earth and using stone to line the tunnel and reinforce it as they went. Reaching the north end, there is a donation box here. The tunnel mostly operates on donations by the public, so drop a few dollars in if you have a chance. So as you can see, exiting the north end, we start to climb up a ramp. Now that ramp was added when they opened the tunnel back up to pedestrians here a couple years ago. Originally it stayed at the lower level and continued up to the main tracks, which are just a few hundred yards up from here. That was the Brockville train tunnel. Highly recommend you do it. Not a long walk. As you see, there's a little kiddie train that goes through too, but there was a bunch of adults on board, so I think they'll let you do that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'm gonna link, I came through here last year with the 360, so if you got like a VR headset or something, you wanna see that, that video is in the description and it'll appear at the end card. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe. See you next time, thanks.